I scared somebody away already. Now another one came. They're going to stay or they're going to leave. They left. Well, it's probably you, Moo, and I'm thankfully you're sitting there if it's you. Sitting there relaxing. Maybe one-on-one. Get your individual attention. How are you? Okay, we got two. Is that other one going to leave or are they going to go? Oh, we got three. Are they going to stay or are they going to go? We're going to read more summer fun. Hi, John. Hey. How are you? I was in Carolyn's tonight, but I was just listening. Just lurking and doing my shells. Can't stop doing them. I'm just hooked on them. Ready for some stories, John? You can't sleep? Well, maybe this will help, okay? I hope it will. All right? I hope it will. We'll get you settled down. Well, there you go. You ready for some old stories too, Sassy Darcy? Beep, beep. Yeah, I couldn't sleep yet either. I'm tired, but read a few stories and then go to bed. I was going to keep working on my shells right now, but I thought I'm taking a break. I'm going to read and then go sleep. Maybe somebody else can't sleep. All right, John. Go see where we were last night. There's some pretty good stories in here, too. Last one we read was a cowboy breakfast. You're crafting also? I'm not surprised. Remember, the one for this summer that they sent is picnic memories, fun food, and crazy games, and a penny earned, the creative ways we made money. So, got a lot of these stories in here. Now we're going to go to the swimming hole. Hey, Nana Patty. Our cooling off spot was kid tested, but it wasn't mother approved. Here's a picture of the family I guess we're going to read about. Their little summer adventure. As youngsters, my brother Walter and Roman and I were like three musketeers, always together, always intent on some new game or adventure. Hey, Denise, Renee, LMN. We had lots of room to roam on our 640-acre farm in western North Dakota. That's up by you, Sassy Darcy. In summer, we rode the horses, cattle, and pigs and waded in the creek some distance away, following its meandering route. So they rode cattle and pigs. We played on the haystacks and in the haymow in the barn. We wandered over the prairies and climbed the rolling hills to see what was on the other side. In winter, we made snowmen, snow angels, and snow forts. And we went sledding using a scoop shovel as a sled. Hey, Denise, Renee. There was just no end to the things we found to do to entertain ourselves. Our beloved mongrel dog, Rover, was ever at our side. In the summer of 1941, when I was 6, Walter was 4, and Roman was 3, our teenage brother, Werner, dug a hole for us to play in. It was in the backyard near a lovely lilac bush. Let's see, where was I? Large enough and deep enough for the 3 of us to sit in comfortably. There was even a fair amount of room to move around a bit. That was fun for a time, but then I thought of a way to make it even more fun. As the oldest of us 3, I usually came up with the ideas and the others followed. We schlepped many buckets of water from the tank that the animals drank from in the barnyard. After a time, we felt that we had filled the hole enough to go swimming. It was delightful and cooling, as the summer day was hot. We wallowed around in it and poured the muddy water over our heads and bodies. We were a sight for sore eyes. Nana Patty, you won't believe this. Look what I bought tonight. Or bought this evening. Look at that. And I told Lexi, I said, I hope it's as good as that pimento spread that we had down there in South Carolina. Yeah, I just happened to see it and thought, oh, I'm going to get it. I remember that was pretty good. So, yeah. Hiya, Heart Made Wise. Just going to read a few old stories. I do too. Yeah, that stuff was freaking good. Let's see. Let's see. We wallowed around in it, in the mud, and poured the muddy water over our heads and bodies. We were a sight for sore eyes. Mama had been indoors, but then she came out, heading for the outhouse. When she beheld the sight of us, she called out to my teenage brother, Joe. The outhouse would have to wait for a bit. Together, they marched us back to the watering tank. There, they vigorously dunked us up and down in the water. We gasped and sputtered. We were lucky that we didn't end up being drowned. When the mud was all rinsed off, we were marched into the house where we were given over into the not-so-gentle hands of our older cousin, Marion. Marion stayed with us in the summer, helping Mama in the house for room and board and perhaps a small salary. She now saw to it that we got a proper bath in a round wash tub placed in the middle of the kitchen floor. Water had been warmed on top of the coal stove, and Mama's homemade lye soap was liberally lathered over our hair and our bodies. Again, we sputtered and gasped as we were rinsed very unceremoniously. Werner received a reprimand for digging the hole and was ordered to refill it with dirt. That was the end of our swimming, but it was fun for the short time it lasted. I would have to think up a new adventure tomorrow. And that's by Ruth Enderlear Brown. And John Walsh says, the independence you want, the safety you need. Get this lively response mobile plus urgent response agent. He says, get that, folks. Let's see what we got here. Rewind. Famous quote, the man who is swimming against the stream knows the strength of it. That was by Woodrow Wilson. Your tops at the box office from 1955. That's a really good year. Okay, there were the top box office hits: Lady and the Tramp, Mr. Roberts, The Sea Chase, The Tall Men, Galapagos, Love is a Many Splendored Thing, To Catch a Thief, Love Me or Leave Me, The Trouble with Harry, and I'll Cry Tomorrow. Oh, here we go. Antiques Corner. Question: is it hard to believe these were once cutting-edge roller skates? It's hard to believe these were once cutting-edge roller skates. They have metal soles and leather straps, which are still intact. How old are they, and what is their current value? See what they look like? Looking pretty darned old there to me. Answer: the first patent roller skates were introduced in 1760 by Dutch-Belgian inventor John Joseph Merlin. His inline skate design placed the wheels in a single line, which made steering and stopping difficult. In 1863, James Plimpton from Massachusetts invented the rocking skate, which had 4 wheels for stability and independent axles that made turning easier. Clamp-on roller skates that attached to street shoes were introduced in the early 1900s and remained popular with children through the 1950s. The skates could be adjusted to fit different sizes of shoes using a small metal tool known as a skate key. This pair appears to be from the 1930s or 40s. Today, clamp-on metal skates are used mostly for decorating and usually sell for $20 to $30 a pair. And then, do you remember, when did President Truman and his wife Bess move back into the White House following extensive repairs to the historic building? Anybody know? The answer is March 27th, 1952. President Truman, and the first family had moved out of the White House and into Blair House in 1948. Here's a picture of the cover of the Saturday Evening Post, July 31st, 1954. The headlines on here, some of the stories say, "Available for adoption, Babies for the Brave. How I Learned to Win in the Majors" by Carl Erskine of the Dodgers. Will New Orleans lose its river? And here's the cover. It says, "No one wants to be the last one in the water on a hot summer day." Here's an advertising flashback. A family picnic near a lake was a great way to spend a good old summertime day. This 1951 ad features a red check tablecloth topped with delicious picnic classics like sandwiches, apples, and milk in a Pure Pak container. And I'm going to read you the Pure Pak advertisement about their milk. They always make everything look so wholesome back then, didn't they? Hey, Davida, you made it. I thought you would be sleeping. Okay, for this milk, it says, in the good old summertime, nothing gets the family going like that old familiar summertime suggestion. Let's have a picnic. Little people and big people all go for this idea. Pack the baskets handle high with potato salad, baked beans, sandwiches, cake, and pie. And don't forget plenty of cold, refreshing milk. How can you enjoy Mother Nature to the full without your fill of Mother Nature's finest food beverage? And no one has to do any fixing when it comes to milk. Bossy and your dairyman have taken care of all that. If you're extra smart, you'll take it in Pure Pack, the lightweight, easy to carry, disposable paper milk container. There are no bottles to wash or return when the milk's in Pure Pack. The same convenience, of course, is appreciated in everyday purchases of milk. Are you enjoying the convenience of milk in Pure Pack, now available in 48 states? You're missing something if you're not. Ask for it today. Pure Pack, your professional milk container. You really got into this. It says marvelous cleanliness that begins in the deep pine forests. It says from the peeled white glistening pine logs whose sturdy fibers provide the strong paperboard from which Pure Pack containers are made, dot, 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 to the carefully supervised processing of the containers in your local dairy. Every step in Pure Pack handling conforms to the highest possible standards of cleanliness and health protection. Pure Pack containers are formed, sterilized in hot, molten paraffin, and filled with your dairy's rich, wholesome, without the touch of human hands. They are used only once, only for dairy products, dot, 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 only by you. From Detroit, Michigan. It's got the Good Housekeeping seal of approval, and it's recommended by the parents something, commended by the parent. Remember, they used to always show, Davita, you'd probably remember that, and John. Remember, they'd always show Good Housekeeping and then this parents thing. I can't make out, it's too little. And here's what made us laugh, supposedly. Here's a little comic. It says, remember last year? We drove all the way out here and discovered you'd forgotten the picnic lunch. There's the little cartoon. The headlines, August 15th, 1960. The song It's Now or Never, performed by Elvis Presley, hits #1 on the Billboard charts. The song would remain at the top of the charts for 5 weeks. Ask the old guy, John. Things my parents used to say. When high hairdos, such as the bubble hairdo, were popular in the 1960s, Jim Vance of Tustin, California, recalled his mom saying, "Hair, where are you going with that girl?" Mary Gwynn shared her father's advice on money. You've got to save it to have it. Whenever Harry Norris or his siblings would misbehave when they were out in public, his mother would remind her children that fools' names and fools' faces will always be seen in public places. Oh, yeah, you are fortunate to have seen him twice. That's really cool. And they say, thanks, Jim, Mary, and Harry. for sharing that. Okay, this one is entrepreneurship and the rock scene. Friends turned into buyers when rocks turned into dinosaur eyes and bones from a pirate's toes. This is by Glenn Thaxton. And here's a picture of him in 1957 after learning about supply and demand in the rock business. That little guy, I guess he made some money. In the summer of 1956, I was 8 years old. It was then that the concept of entrepreneurship entered my consciousness. Some kids come to know it by setting up lemonade stands. I discovered it through the lens of imagination. The results were not always good, but some ideas resulted in a profit. My family was rich in a variety of ways, but an abundance of money was not one of them. All my friends had young parents who were existing with noses 1 inch above financial waters. So envy was never the nettlesome creature that bothers some people today. Security was an animal that lurked in the corners of our imagination. We were all poor. The families that were not lived elsewhere. Yet even with parents working hard to keep me from worrying about such things, I understood the value of money. I was reminded of it every time I saw a coin exchanged for a popsicle. The closest thing I had to coins was Coke bottle caps. They were round and metal and fit in a box. I collected them from a gas station soft drink machine a few blocks away until I had a wooden crate full. I would imagine them as coins and run my hands through them as if they were gold and silver. Then, after hearing about pirates and hidden treasure, I decided to bury the box of bottle caps near a bridge at the end of the street and draw a treasure map to it. The creek below the bridge had a soft bed of sand and was an open invitation to buried treasure. The hill on either side of the creek would hide my activities from treasure hunters who were, obviously, watching my every move. While digging a hole to bury my treasure, I discovered rocks of different shapes, colors, and sizes. Being near the creek, water was readily available, so I washed the rocks and scrubbed them clean. Some were even shiny. Pretty soon, I had 2 Roy Rogers socks full of rocks. I finished burying the treasure and walked, sockless, muddy and wet, back home to contemplate my new discovery. In my young mind, these rocks had a hidden value that only time and diligence on my part could ascertain. Over the next few days, my fertile imagination developed stories about each rock. One was a haunted dinosaur eyeball that no matter how you rolled it, always ended up looking straight at you. One was a fossilized pea. No doubt the actual one does. Garnet. Darn it, Garnet. Described in the story The Princess and the Pea. 2 were the missing toe bones of a peg-legged pirate. One half-moon shaped one had been tossed by the man in the moon a few years before I found it, embedded in a creek bank.
And I'll smack you.
Hi, Aunt She. The ones without a story had special utility, like the ability to skip along the surface of the creek or to smash bugs without getting bug juice on your hands. One could be used to defend yourself from bats, not the kind used in baseball, the kind that flew around at night, eating flying insects and scaring children. One day, I was telling a story about one of the rocks to my friend. In the process, he concluded that he needed one. I finally sold him one of the pirate's toes, and he felt he got a good deal. He got a rock with an exciting story to share, while I walked away with a nickel. Seemed a fair trade to me. As word spread about my special rocks, all the neighborhood kids started showing up to buy one. Soon, they started showing up in groups. It became a social event in which I was the center of attention, along with my incredible rocks. I loved the attention and began to feel I was on a mission. Before the day was over, I had one Roy Rogers sock, one filled with rocks, once filled with rocks, now filled to the top with pennies and nickels. For the first time, the value of counting, addition, and subtraction became evident, sparking an early interest in math. My career as a purveyor of rare rocks ended the following day when a mother from the neighborhood came to my house to discuss their real value with my mother. Her reasoning seemed debatable to me, but my mother, who was new to the whole rock scene, forced me to return the nickel. Her return policy was more liberal than mine. Of course, I tried to cut a deal, but in the end, I complied and returned her son's nickel. His returned rocks snuggled up with the remaining rocks still left in the other rock sock. Over the next few days, I returned a few more nickels as parents complained. Really? They were complaining about this? Let's see. So the parents complained. But in the end, I still had enough money to meet up with the ice cream truck and close a fudgesicle deal every now and then. It was worth noting that the ice cream man would not trade ice cream for rocks, no matter how riveting the story. I was young, but I learned that some rocks held their value longer than others. And while the seller had some leeway in pricing, it was the buyer who ultimately determined the real value. I also learned that a rich imagination had merit and that a return policy was needed. Considering that rocks were common to the area, the concept of supply and demand would have to come later. Here is a poem, The Swing, by Robert Louis Stevenson, 1850 to 1894. He didn't live very long, 44 years old. How do you like to go up in a swing, up in the air so blue? Oh, I do think it is the pleasantest thing ever a child can do. Up in the air and over the wall, till I can see so wide, rivers and trees and cattle and all, over the countryside. Till I look down on the garden green, down on the roof so brown, up in the air I go flying again, up in the air and down. And a cute little drawing to go with that. Let's see. Maybe read that one another day. Let's read this one. Pin Boy. What started out as an adventure quickly turned into a thrilling but short-lived career. And here's a picture of the boy, Alan C. Hanrahan. Here he is. He's 13 years old in 1950. In Southeast Virginia, the August heat and humidity can envelop you like a warm blanket. In 1950, There was no air conditioning in the Metropolitan Bowling Alley. The alley was located above an F.W. Woolworth 5 and 10 store on bustling Washington Avenue. This was the main shopping street in the shipbuilding city of Newport News. Oh, Alicia, you're here. My foster daughter. We're reading some stories from the olden times. The only source of relief from the heat was a few giant fans perched on stands, whirling and swirling the heat and humidity. But only the bowlers were given any respite via the fans, little as it was. For 3 pin boys in the pits at the back of the alleys, there was no relief. Those pin boys were Donald, Bobby Jean, and me, 3 youngsters on the cusp of our teen years. Oh, that would be horrible, wouldn't it? In the back of the bowling alley, picking up the pins, setting them up each time, because they didn't have, the automatic ones like we have nowadays. It was Bobby Jean's idea, and we filed into the bowling alley one August afternoon to apply for jobs as pin boys. This occupation was filled by young men and boys whose task it was to set and reset pins for the bowlers. The gruff man, who appeared to be the owner, or perhaps the manager, looked us over and told us we were hired, but we would need a social security card, which we knew nothing about. Excuse me. He told us the office was located about 2 blocks away. It was close to the banks of the mighty James River that flowed past so much of Newport News. We got our social security cards and went back to the bowling alley to show the man. He told us to return in a few hours for the evening's work. When we came back, we were given brief instructions on what we were expected to do. First, return the bowling balls back up the groove to the bowler's area. Second, clear the fallen pins, being careful not to disturb any pins still standing. We would wait for the ball to be rolled a second time, and when it was, that frame was over. Then we reset all the pins for the next bowler. As a rule, we settled into a routine. Me in aisle 1, Bobby Jean in aisle 2, and Donald in aisle 3. One group of impatient bowlers, for whom Bobby Jean was setting pins, would release the ball for the second frame before he could finish setting the last pin. Oh, that would be a pain. Hey, Leslie. Starting to be on the men too, Leslie? You and Davida? Both our patients? This would cause Bobby Jean to frantically set the pin and clamber out of the way of the ball bearing down on him. Instead of getting angry and going to complain to our boss, Bobby Jean made a game of it. He would deliberately delay setting the last 2 pins and then either wave them at the bowler or place his thumb in his ears and waggle his hands at them, or make other gestures up the alley. At first, Donald and I looked on in alarm, but then we realized that Bobby Jean had found the perfect response to the louts. It got to be hilarious watching his antics and gestures, while at the same time, we all had to be diligent in doing our job so as not to get hit by one of those heavy black balls coming down the alley in our direction. And some people really throw those balls, don't they? They really, no horses yet, Alicia. I think last night there was. Hi, Jean Deloche. I don't know how those guys scored their game, but they obviously enjoyed it. As they were getting ready to leave, one of them came halfway down the alley and placed a dollar bill on the floor. Then he pointed his index finger at Bobby Jean as if it were a pistol. Bobby Jean gave him a big grin and a friendly wave as he picked up the dollar bill, which was a nice sum in those days. There might be in the next one. The bowlers, for the most part, were young men from the shipyard or from one of the many military bases in the area. Some of them had huge biceps and could really propel the bowling ball down the alley, whether it was a huge 10-pin ball or one of the smaller duck pin balls. I hated it when they called down the alley for duck pins. Wonder what that was. I would set the pins and get as far away and as fast as I could. I covered my face and head with my arms because when the ball hit the pins, they became projectiles. Some of those guys would throw the balls underhanded like a softball so that the ball might hit the alley floor only once before it reached the pins, resulting in a veritable explosion of duck pins. Hi, Lisa D. We were dehydrated from the heat, humidity, and perspiring so much. And because there was no water fountain, we opted for soft drinks, or as we called them, soda pops. We were allowed to run a tab, and given the conditions, we each ran up quite a bill. That first night was enough for Donald. He quit. Bobby Jean and I missed Donald the second night, but we had a pretty good time. But doggone it if Bobby Jean didn't decide that even a short career as a pin boy was not for him either. I was a bit put out by his quitting, as our adventure had been his idea in the first place, but I decided to keep going. My third night at the Metropolitan Bowling Alley was miserable. Gone was the hilarity and the camaraderie. In its place was heat, humidity, and hard work for relatively little pay. I could not wait for the evening to be over so I could quit too. But when I did, the boss man proceeded to lecture me on my ingratitude and lack of caring for the situation in which my quitting had placed him. My short-lived career as a pin boy did not end amiably. And they say that you guys, it says, have you ever wondered who the writers and photographers in this Good Old Days magazine are? They're people just like you who enjoy reading and sharing sweet memories of the past. Oh, I understand. Leslie, you don't have to write. My thumb kills me. It's getting a little better since I don't type as much. Every once in a while I tag right here on the laptop because it's easy right then, but not a lot. Anyway, it says that you can be part of the magazine too. Send us your heartfelt true stories along with photos that add colorful support to your tale from yesteryear. We enjoy reading all of them, even though we don't have space to use them all. Your story has the best chance of publication if it fits the seasonal and editorial themes that we need, is interesting and well written, and highlights a specific experience that will strike a chord with readers who were growing up between 1935 and 1970. And they want stories from 500 to 1,000 words. And they give a few other instructions. Okay, here we go. Percy Ann's Great Escape. She won a blue ribbon, but not for patience, by Frances Smith. Here she is right here with her cat, Percy Ann, in 1958. Lisa D will like this story. It has a cat. And it's not scary. I'm not doing scary stories tonight. In June 1958, let me get a little sip of this. more than a little sip. I excitedly rode my bike over to Croghan School to meet our playground supervisor for the summer. The Department of Recreation in Fremont, Ohio, offered all sorts of summer activities and hired college girls studying to become teachers to oversee them. The playground supervisors were friendly and upbeat and wore whistles around their necks. Our supervisor had a bulletin board to sign up for activities, like the Croghan Tigers Pee Wee softball team. There was also a calendar with the days and times for crafts, contests, and shows. Hi, Linda L. Let's see. For crafts, we made cork stamps, soap carvings, hot pan holders, and checkerboard sets. We covered burned out light bulbs with strips of newspaper dipped in flour paste. After they had dried for a week, we painted them. A sharp whack shattering the bulb turned them into Spanish maracas. Oh, I remember we did something like that. Forgot all about that in elementary. Creating crafts was newsworthy in our town. Our names appeared in Fremont's News Messenger, and our crafts were displayed in the downtown window of Feisters, a men's clothing store. When it came to the contest, many involved food, like eating a cracker and then trying to whistle, seeing who could blow the biggest bubblegum bubbles, and spaghetti and pie eating contest. We brought a dime to cover the cost of our 4-inch bluebird fruit pie. No one worried that eating a banana as fast as we could might be a choking hazard. The bike decorating contest included tricycles. The categories included prettiest decorations, most original, and funniest. For the hobby show, I took coins that Daddy had brought back from the Pacific after the war. My classmates brought stamps, antique teacups, and Coke bottle caps. The ribbons given for awards were made by our supervisor. We treasured receiving them, and I still have mine. Wow, she still has hers. The scavenger hunt sent us banging on our neighbors' doors. We had to find a striped straw, a copy of Life magazine, a graham cracker, a pincushion, a dew worm, aka nightcrawler, a 4-leaf clover, and a picture of President Eisenhower with Mamie, all in order to win a 2-cent Tootsie Pop. Linda. Okay, Linda. Okay, I'll try to remember. Just Linda. Competition was fierce when it came to the shows, especially the baby show. For the talent show, you had to be really good. Mara, Christy, and I played the Chipmunk song on a record player and pretended to sing. We bombed the auditions twice. A reporter from the newspaper covered our events. Prize winners got their pictures in the paper. For the Halloween party, I dressed up as a gypsy, wearing Mama's jewelry and makeup. My neighbor Sheila was allowed to wear the flower girl dress that she wore in a wedding. One boy won first prize by hamming it up while dressed in his sister's accordion pleat skirt, blouse, and church gloves. A doll's wig and bonnet covered his short haircut. Wearing red lipstick and a bracelet and carrying a purse, his costume was tops for the day. His cleverness earned him a candy bar. The doll and stuffed animal shows had playful categories like the shaggiest, raggiest, most lifelike, funniest, bride, cutest, and most loved. For these shows, it was easy to haul my doll babies and stuffed animal zoo to the playground in my red wagon, since I only needed to pull them 1 block over to the school. The pet show, however, presented a problem. I wanted to take Percy Ann, the new cat we had gotten for free from a farmer, but I knew I couldn't just carry her in my arms. To take her to the veterinarian, we had put her in a cardboard box. So now she associated that box with going to the animal hospital. Instead, I put her in a clear plastic doll carrier that zipped, leaving it open enough for her to get some air. The playground was a three-ring circus with excited kids and nervous pets. Percy Ann looked more like the long-haired Persian in my cat encyclopedia than a barn cat. Her tail looked like the plume on a marching band hat. While the judges stretched out her tail and measured the length, she meowed in misery. My heart soared when she won second place for prettiest and then first place for longest tail. When a judge handed me Percy Ann's red and blue ribbons, I was flabbergasted. It was a struggle to get her back into my doll carrier, but I did. Finally, heading home, she decided she had had enough. Insisting on freedom, she burst through the zipper. When I grabbed her, she scratched my face and leaped out of my arms. Much to my horror, she dashed through a backyard and disappeared into the bushes. My screams brought attention. The neighbor whose backyard I was standing in hurried over. She stared at me with a worried look. Streams of salty tears made my throbbing red scratches puff up and my nose run. Which reminds me, I'm just going to hope it quit bleeding. Garnet got me tonight again. Hey, Muppets. Let's see. Now I was trapped by this strong, kind lady, squashing me and cooing, "There, there," much to my distress. I needed her to stop and go crawl under the bushes and help me hunt for my cat. At home, I relived the drama of Percy Ann's great escape. Daddy said, "She'll be home. She's smart enough to know where her next meal is coming from." He said this without hesitation, and I believed him. Meanwhile, Mama kept harping, "What's next, Calamity Jane? Your eyeballs could have been gouged out." Calamity Jane is what Mama called me when I got into predicaments. Miraculously, before dark, Percy Ann found her way home to our front porch, scared and hungry. Proudly, I showed Mama and Daddy her ribbons. They weren't impressed. They wanted to drive her back to the farm, but I loved her more than anything, and I begged them not to. She stayed, but her pet show days were over. I fell asleep thinking how lucky I was to have a pretty cat with the longest tail in the world to hug and kiss goodnight. Gonna read one more and then be done, okay? I'm going to make this tomorrow. It sounded good. I was looking at these recipes last night. I'm going to make apple pie brownies. And I bought the apples today. It's just a cup of flour, salt, baking powder, baking soda, cinnamon, nutmeg, melted butter, sugar, a cup of sugar, an egg, teaspoon of vanilla, 3 medium apples, peeled, cored, and thinly sliced, and then a half cup chopped walnuts, optional. Look at it right here. I know, Alicia. Calm down. I missed you too. And I'm glad you love your ring. Doesn't that look good though? So I'm going to make that tomorrow. They have red, white, and blueberry sparklers, jelly jar chickpea salad, walking tacos, salted caramel apple nachos. Let's see. I missed you, Alicia. Look at the walking tacos. Those are good, aren't they? The schools like to make those now a lot. I'm so glad you love it, Alicia. I wanted you to love it. And then there's your salted caramel apple nachos. That's 3 to 4 large crisp apples, Granny Smith, Pink Lady, or Honey Crisp, 1 to 2 tablespoons lemon juice, and then your toppings are caramel sauce, a can of salted peanuts coarsely chopped, mini baking chips, any flavor you want, and shredded coconut. Num num num. Get you guys hungry before you go to bed or just getting up? Let's see. Let me find one more story to read, okay? Recipes. Hi, 10th Angel. 10th Angel. Trying to find one that'll make Davita start crying. It does sound good, right, Davita? Davita or 10th Angel or whoever likes dolls, paper dolls, send $3 for our catalog of 400 plus paper dolls. Remember loving these as a kid? Oh, Lisa D. Yeah, I think Lisa D has some of these. Well, a good a good cry, a happy cry. That's what I mean. Where she gets choked up. So I'm trying to find one. Let's see. Let's see. I'm just looking to see if anything looks like a tearjerker. Okay, maybe this will do it. Probably not, though. This one's called Being the Hero. It shows a picture of some swings. Her Saving Me Was Not My Plan by Everett Garrison. This tale unfolds on a schoolyard playground in 1955 when I was in the 5th grade. The school was in North Middletown, a small community in Bourbon County, Kentucky. The school at that time had 3 playgrounds, and which one you used depended upon what grade you were in. We 5th graders were allowed to use the big playground, which, among other things, had a large set of swings. Now, in this 5th grade class was a particularly cute young girl named Vicky. Guys in my class, and some even older, sometimes went to great lengths to try to impress Vicky. Some used their lunch money to buy her candy, I'm told. Not having such financial resources, I was reduced to trying to impress her with colored drawings that I did of jungle animals straight from the pages of Tarzan comic books. I do think she was duly impressed. On this particular day, as recess was ending and most of the kids were returning to the classroom, I found that Vicky and I were the only two still on the swings. Just as I was contemplating what clever things I would say as we walked back to the classroom together, a third person entered the picture. He was a hulking sixth grader who, even at that, may have been set back a grade or two. He went directly over to where Vicky was still on the swing and started to push her. She was in no mood for this and asked for him to stop, which he did not. Aha! My moment had arrived. To her rescue I came. I vaulted from my swing seat like Superman flying through the air. I went directly to where Vicky was being accosted and demanded that the bully leave her alone. From this point on, things got a little jumbled. I believe he said something like, "What are you going to do about it?" Then apparently a tussle ensued. I should mention at this point in my story that at the time I was slightly above average in height and weight for my age and fairly athletic. However, my adversary had me in both weight and years. At any rate, I soon found myself flat on my back with both arms pinned to my sides and that hulking bully sitting astride my chest. He could have easily pummeled me senseless, except for one thing. Vicky, who had been watching these events unfold, got off the swing, came over to where I was being held down, got right in the bully's face, and demanded in a loud and scolding voice, "You get off of him! You get off of him right now!" Surprisingly, he complied immediately without striking a single blow. We all then returned to our classes, never to speak of it again. I suspect that the bully may have been just as embarrassed as I was by the way things turned out. Needless to say, that was not how I envisioned events unfolding. Instead of the conquering hero returning to the classroom after saving the fair damsel in distress, I returned somewhat humiliated and crestfallen after having been saved myself by the fair damsel. Nonetheless, to this day, I am still grateful that she saved me from getting punched senseless. Thanks, Vicky. And that's it. Night, guys, or good morning. Like Lisa D, it's good morning. And whoever, Leslie Romani, it's good morning. The end, that's right. Yes, prayers for your mom, Lisa. Okay, thanks, guys. Have a wonderful sleep, a wonderful day. Bye-bye.